Hey, what's going on, guys? The Word Exchange. Welcome back. Hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, hit that like button to help us get noticed on YouTube. Got my co-host, David Cano. And then we got Daniel again.
What's going on, guys?
He's getting a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people seem to like him, so we got him back on. We got a new guest. I'm gonna go ahead and let David introduce the guest.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Felipe Arellano.
Or Phil.
What's up, Phil?
You call me Phil. Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys having me. I mean, I'm a fan of your guys's. I seen the first one with Kobe. You guys were that was the first one, right?
Oh, yeah. Luke was actually in that one too.
Yeah, he was all Kobe'd out.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P.
to Kobe, not Luke. He's still alive.
Yeah. And then I saw the one where Darth Vader didn't say, "Luke, I am your father."
Oh yeah, that one.
He said, "I am."
Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect. Yeah,
cool,
big
man.
fan. I like what you guys are doing.
Awesome.
I appreciate you guys having me for sure.
So, some backstory, I guess, on your. Where are you from?
I'm from here, Tucson. Family is from Guadalajara, Mexico.
Dang.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Jalisco?
Well, my mom's from Guadalajara, and my dad's from Guaymas.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
They have good salsa there.
Never been there, but
My tata was from, he was from Jalisco, which is the state where Guadalajara is. But he grew up in a town right outside of Guadalajara.
Oh, word.
But he was from those parts.
Yeah. Beautiful. Have you been there?
Puerto Vallarta is close to there, right?
Hey, I've been
Yeah.
to Puerto Vallarta.
I've
I've
been
never
there.
been, but
Fire
they say-
salsa.
Yeah.
They say the beach is nice.
It is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I have a
Well, that's
funny
what
story
Tapatío
about
is supposed
Puerto
to go
Vallarta, bro. So I went there with my wife for like our 1 year anniversary.
Ooh.
7-day cruise.
Ooh.
Went to Cabo, and then the other half we went there. And the beach is so nice, but it's so crowded, because everyone's there. And so we went on to Facebook in the area to see where there's like a place that you could kind of like rent some chairs and just hang out, and then they bring food to you, whatever. So we found this place like further down the beach, and it's like you get a wristband, you can go into the pool, you can order food.
Like inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really nice.
Dope.
And so it was only like all you had to do was order a meal and you're good to go.
Wow.
And so we go in and they say you have to check in on Facebook. So those are the two requirements. And so we go in and I'm like looking at it. There's like the pool, and then it goes beach sand, and then it goes to the beach, and then there's like all these umbrellas and chairs, right? And so it's me and my wife, and then this couple we met on the cruise. They're older. They were like 45, 50s, but they were cool, They were chill.
Yeah.
They were on the same cruise, so we kind of just like sat next to each other. And so we're sitting there, and I'm like, this is kind of weird, though. Like, there's just something off. I can't really put my finger on it.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting in my seat under the umbrella. They're bringing the waiter brings a menu out, and I'm like, and I look next to me. There's two guys in Speedos next to me, and I'm like, oh crap, Like, yeah, let me get some nachos.
Felt right at home.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, let me get some nachos. No, just kidding. And then I look back and I remember the pool, and it's all guys.
Whoa.
And I'm like, and I go to get the Wi-Fi, right?
Are you with your wife?
I'm with my wife, yeah, me and her, and I go and that guy's with his wife, so it's like us four, and I go to get the Wi-Fi, but you have to check in, and I look and it's a gay resort bar, and I'm like, but I want Wi-Fi, bro, like, do I check in,
Yeah.
So
on your Facebook it says places he's checked in, and it's right there, huh? Yeah.
it was awkward, bro, but it was really clean, nice, no one bothered me, so it is what it is, bro.
That could either be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah. So,
Which is how long ago was this?
I'm married 7 years now, so this was 6 years
ago. Which is crazy because Mexico's one country that doesn't really accept that.
homosexual lifestyle.
homosexuality,
Yeah.
which is
the machismo and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's not as accepting as we are.
And I
here
think
of it.
that's why the deal was so good.
was because of that.
It was because they wanted people to get like exposure for their, check in. You have to check in. That's one of the requirements.
Trip.
They wanted people to, wanted to blow up. Or so.
So as far as me, yeah, my family's from Guadalajara. Well, my mom, dad, not. He's from Guaymas.
Guaymas, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and then my mom came out here to Tucson. She was illegal. She got her papers and stuff like that, but I was born here. So
Yeah.
born and raised on the west side of Tucson.
West Side.
West side. Yeah, kind of.
I went to Menlo Park.
Yeah. Oh, word.
Yeah, elementary.
Did you really?
Trip out.
Yeah.
No, I always give him crap.
Yeah,
Cause,
yeah,
'cause
he
he's
did.
from the west.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on the south side.
Yeah, so I grew up on the south, right? I was born on the south side.
Trip.
Born and raised on the side. Went to Challenger
Oh,
middle school. So we went back and forth all
Okay.
the time, So it got bad over there, so we moved to Menlo.
oh, yeah, that's the perfect place.
And I got jumped. By what was the middle school? Was it
Mansfield.
Mansfield? Yeah,
Mansfield.
They used to wait right there by the
Or
Menlo
Maxwell,
Park.
too.
Maxwell, yeah, that's the one I remember.
Maxwell, Mansfield, yeah.
They used to wait right there by the Menlo Park to
Yeah.
get the bus.
Okay.
And some dudes, I don't know what it was, bro. They just didn't like me,
Yeah.
And so they'd always throw rocks at me. I was always like
Dang.
paranoid. I would show up to school
Oh, it
late.
wasn't because you were a south sider?
That's what I thought.
I didn't really claim, dude.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really tell them where I was from,
Oh, okay.
I just minded my own business. That's right around the time that I got saved, though.
Oh, okay.
So I was in 5th grade. I actually, in that school, I'll get to that, but actually this leads into that. So I was in 5th grade, and there was I had a lot of anger as a kid, a lot of anger. And I remember one time there was this younger kid, and because I was getting bullied by those guys,
Yeah.
I was bullying this kid in the elementary school.
Okay.
And I remember I stepped on his back.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Was he laying down or something?
I threw him down.
Ooh.
And then I stomped on his back.
Jeez Louise.
And he was like, I think he was probably in the same grade or a grade lower. So he wasn't like a little,
yeah.
kindergarten, but it was like he was around, maybe trying to act tough, and I just, out of anger. And it took me to the counselor's office. The police were called. His mom was
Whoa.
called. Yeah, bro, it was a big deal.
Did you get arrested or no?
Counseling and detention. And then there was this girl. She was huge, bro. She was taller than me, which, for a girl, that's pretty tall. She was like, I remember, she was just a foot taller.
Trip.
And I don't know if she liked me or what, but she was always picking on me.
Yeah, she liked you.
But
That's usually the indication right there.
But dude, she was not at all the type of girl that I would be interested in.
Oh, word.
And so I was kind of rude to her.
Oh, dang.
And so one day, bro, she pushes me with all her might, and I go sliding, bro. I'm wearing, you used to wear windbreakers back in.
Yeah.
Dude, I hit the floor and I go, shh. That's all you hear, And then I remember in class, I tried to throw a pencil at her, because I was so mad, bro. But at the last second, I just threw it up into the ceiling and it stuck right in the ceiling. And she told her brother, and the brother was those guys at the bus stop, dude, waiting for their bus every morning.
And so they jumped you.
They jumped me the next day. They 4 of them just start,
just stomping you out.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, man.
And that was right around the time where my mom was realizing, oh crap, my son is starting to go down this road. And so she took me to church.
And then there you go.
Yep. And actually what's crazy is later on, I changed high schools after I moved in with a pastor here when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I went to Nosotros Academy.
Whoa.
Right across the street from Menlo Park.
Yeah.
Yep. So full circle,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've always been around the west side too.
Dang,
so
that's
You
crazy.
know, the west side has some of the oldest barrios in Tucson. back in the day, like the Hispanics that grew up here before the South Side became
The South
like
Side.
the
Barrio
South Side.
Sobaco.
It was the West Side
Sobaco,
first.
Hollywood.
You know, Barrio Hollywood, Sobaco, Barrio Anita, Menlo.
Anita, OP.
That's right. OP
Yeah.
right there off
Past
off the
chili
freeway.
dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So the West Side, that was like the barrio
Yeah.
back in the day, and then the South Side of
Mm.
Tucson just kind of began to grow.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, what's crazy is, and I was never, but I heard in the 90s, it was super crazy.
Oh,
like,
yeah, dude.
Beyond crazy.
so I wasn't allowed to go to the West Side, bro.
Word.
But because I was full on South Sider, you know what I
Trip
mean.
out.
So that was the thing. Like if I met someone that was from the West Side, bro, it was automatic. Like I don't associate
Yeah.
with you. You know what I mean?
Blue and yellow, right?
Yeah,
what they
That's
wear?
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
That's what they used to
blue
wear,
and gold,
dude.
blue and yellow.
Yeah.
So I remember
Like,
when
oh,
when we would get locked up in juvie at the PCJCC, Pima County Juvenile Court Center.
Mhm.
They had us, the South Siders and the West Siders, they had to separate us. But there was always more South Siders than West Siders.
Yeah.
So the West Siders
Now-
were outnumbered.
Are we talking about when, like, you're talking about gangs?
Yeah.
Or is it just
Neighborhoods.
Well, you know what's
Is
crazy?
it just neighborhoods, or was it a gang, or just like,
No,
hey,
no,
I'm from this
It's
neighborhood,
just-
or is it like a gang?
So you have your gangs, right? But in there, because you're not gonna have people from your own neighborhood or your own gang. I
There's
was
a side.
more, not that I was in a gang, but I was affiliated and I knew people, but I represented the South Side because
Mhm.
that's where I was from.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I'm from the South Side. I'm from the South Side of Tucson. That's my neighborhood, and
Yeah.
I threw down for that.
Mm.
And I had, so when we were locked up, there was dudes that were from different neighborhoods like Vista, Western Hills,
Libre.
Barrio Libre,
Mm.
Barrio Chicano. You
Yeah,
know,
Southside got a lot of hoods, bro.
yeah, so all the Southsiders, we kind of like came together when we were locked up, and the Westsiders, they, so we were separated. There's the West Side and the South Side. We didn't get along, but when we went to state, and we were locked up in state juvenile prison.
Yeah.
In there, it didn't matter if you were from the South Side or the West Side, because all the Tucson boys in there, we stuck together because
all
our
Tucson.
enemy
Oh, yeah.
was Phoenix. So in there, we were Tucson versus Phoenix. So that's where I started meeting dudes from Hollywood, dudes from Anita.
So the rules change when you're in a little bit.
Well,
Different levels of-
Yeah, so when you're in the same city, it's all South Side. But when we're outside the city, we're all Tucson. And we're outside the state, we're AZ.
Yeah. It's like super political, man.
Yeah.
That's
And when you're
crazy.
outside,
But so
when you're outside those states, you're U.S.
USA.
You're
And then outside, you're Western Hemisphere.
so
And
is
And
it
then
is,
you're planet Earth.
is there an unwritten rule, or do you have to be
Solar
like
system.
told, hey, nah, in here?
I know in
Well,
jail, don't.
I've never been to jail like that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I did one day for
Oh.
a DUI.
I know in speaking of
But-
people that have been in jail, that like Roman
Mm-hmm.
and then other people is as soon as you go in there, you're given a kind of like either a choice or
An
like
ultimatum.
hey, you know, you're,
So that's pretty-
you're
Or
Hispanic.
paisa.
Yeah.
You go this way. You know what I'm saying? Don't mess with these. This is your leader or yada yada yada. It's
So
like
you
you're
get
given
a,
the
you,
breakdown,
you
right?
get approached by your own people. So if you're Chicano and you're from Tucson, you're more than likely going to get approached by a Chicano from Tucson or Chicano from Arizona, and they're going to tell you like, "Hey, do you?"
or Chicano in general, right?
Yeah,
Like
they're
if
gonna-
you go off the Wilmot right here.
Yeah, well,
in general.
if you're a Chicano from Arizona, the Chicanos from Arizona they're gonna come and hit you
Mm.
up. If you're a paisa, if you're from Mexican national from Mexico, then a paisa will come and talk to you. If you're white, same thing, black,
Mm.
you know. So right away, a lot of the inmates in there, because it's so political, they already know who you are before you hit the yard.
Mm-hmm.
So they already know that you're coming.
Really?
So right away, when you get there, they want to know everything about you. They want to see your paperwork to make sure that you're not a snitch. And then they're gonna ask you, bro.
While you're in.
They're gonna ask you for your paperwork, and you have to provide that because they don't want snitches on the yard. They don't want child molesters.
Mhm. That's
you
what I
know.
didn't say.
So that's the whole purpose of that. They want to know everything about you, who you are, and if you're cool, then all right, you're cool to stay there. But they give you a choice, and they ask you if you want to be a soldier, basically. And once you say yeah to that, then it's over, bro. You know, because then at
What's
that
the other
point-
choice?
The other choice is
Just do your time.
do your time, but if something goes down with
You have
race,
to have their back.
you have to have your races back. And that's one thing my dad always told me. He's like, if you ever go into prison, he said they're gonna approach you. He said they're gonna ask you if you want to be esquina. He says, and when they ask you that, the right answer is, I'm here to do my time, but if anything goes down with raza, I'm there to back up the raza, and then that's it.
I feel like, because I don't know if you guys have ever thought about it, but like, and Gano, I know you've been in and out. I feel like to me, my mindset is based on the time that I'm in. If I'm in there for life, which I'm not, right? But you got to survive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's eat or be eaten, like that type of stuff. I have a lot of friends that are in that type. It's a sad thing, but I feel like if you're at a certain point, like maybe you're doing a couple years for something dumb or whatever, do your time and go. You know what I mean? But if you're in there for like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus years, at that point it's a decision that you're kind of like, cool, you know, like I know stuff's gonna go down, I know this is gonna happen, I know all this stuff, like do I want to be protected on a certain level or do I not? Like I think that's that's a decision you're gonna have to make for yourself in there, you know what I mean, just based off of I think the time criteria. But it's a sad situation for sure. I mean, I'm thankful I never got to experience it on that level. Like I know, like I told Kano when we first met and stuff, like it never got brought up like that, but you know, it gets brought up like, oh, where'd you grow up and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, I come from the West Side or whatever, and I've never banged, never. I had a lot of friends that were in the gangs, you know what I mean, but I consider myself not a representative like Kano or what Kano was when he's like, yeah, I rep Southside and I'm down to throw down. I'm just like, look, man, I'm from the West Side. You know what I mean? Because I knew at one point I was like, I'm not down to do these type of things that my friends are doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not.
Yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, it's not me, and I knew that very quickly. You know what I mean?
I think for me, bro, it was because I grew up in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
And being around it, like my cousins and my uncles and stuff, and it's kind of like you're pushed to be a part of that. And if you're not, you're considered a wimp.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's always like you
It's the way you're raised.
You have to prove a point all the time. Like I'm tough.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not. You know, I'm not a wimp. And so I remember when I was a kid, bro, being terrified, bro, like scared, bro. I remember walking in my neighborhood or even walking to school, and I'd hear a car creeping up, bumping rap music, and I just felt like my heart would drop to my stomach because here comes some dudes starting crap.
Yeah.
Hey, where you from?
Yeah.
Or some dudes will come and pull out a gun. They wouldn't do nothing but just try to scare you.
Yeah.
You know, and it was because the way I dressed too. You know what I mean? Like I was dressed like a gang
You banged
member.
the colors.
Yeah. So you get hit up. I remember.
Yourself.
Huh?
So you brought it on yourself.
Pretty much, yeah. But at the time, like it was part of my culture. You know what I mean? That's what I grew up in, and that's what I identified with. But it was a scary life to live in. Go ahead.
You know what's crazy is I remember growing up, right? And I had all my friends with me and stuff like that. One thing that really got me into that type of being down, you know what I'm saying, was the music that I decided to listen to, which is crazy because when I was like in 5th grade, Get Rich or Die Trying came out. It was 50 Cent.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
How old are you?
I know he's young, bro.
I'm 28, bro.
Oh God!
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
in 5th grade.
Yeah, I was like in 5th grade.
I was like
bro.
17 or 18 when that came out.
Dude, I was like,
Dude,
what?
but it
Bro,
was.
I was like 2 years old, bro.
Oh man, yeah,
Dang,
dude, no.
bro.
5 years?
And
Wait,
that-
what year were you born?
92.
Yeah, I was
Oh, dang,
90. I'm
92.
90.
And you're
And
90,
you know what?
right?
In the '90s, you had real gangs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like
I think they were just phasing
I'm not from
out.
Tucson. I'm from Nogales. So Nogales, we didn't have as many neighborhoods and barrios and stuff like that. But I do remember, it's like movies that you saw where you had these teenagers in high school and the teachers were terrified of their students because of what they would bring to school threatening them to kill them or to shoot up their house, and it's
Yeah.
a small city. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that
That kind of molded the mindset. You know what I mean? I feel that, because I feel that, like, as for me, like I said, when that album came out, me and my friends, we would
50
bump
Cents? 50
that,
Cent's
that
album?
50 Cent's first album.
Yeah.
And if you listen to that album,
Was it the mixtape? Or
no,
the
no,
album?
not the mixtape.
The
It was the
mixtape, yeah.
actual
Okay,
album.
yeah.
And like Many Men was on there. I don't know if
Many
you guys
Men.
have heard. Yeah, Many Men.
well, the
Wish
first
Death.
one that dropped was what, In the Club.
In the Club came out.
Well, that was
no,
like-
Wangsta. Wangsta.
No, it
actually
was
came out.
Wangsta
Wangsta,
first,
and
and
then
then
Yeah.
in the club.
The
Yeah.
Magic Stick.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then, you know, in the 90s, you had, you know, going back to that, is you had, you know, like I said, real gangs.
It was more hardcore.
It was
Yeah.
hardcore. I mean, it was what a gang is, not what, you know, the tail end of it got was.
There were definitely some more ignorant times.
You represented your colors, but it was time. It's like there's a saying in Spanish, "Eres cholo sin barrio." In other words, you're a
gang member.
You're a gang member without a
With a-
gang,
Yeah.
or without anything to represent. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like now you're just a gangster because you like the way you dress, and
Because
you're
you like the
emulating-
style.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you're emulating 50 Cent, right?
Yeah.
You have your pants all the way down. You have
Yeah.
you know, your hat, you know, backwards or whatever the case may be.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's so true, bro. Because I remember too, growing up, like I was poor, bro. Like I didn't have Nikes, I didn't have Jordans, I didn't have like the cool stuff that a
Me
lot of
neither,
kids
yeah.
in school had. So I was always looked down on, like one of the poor kids.
I
you
never
know?
had a haircut growing up.
But well, I remember we used to, my brother and I, when we started shaving our heads, because at first we used to comb our hair back and we used tres flores. You remember tres
Oh,
flores?
yeah.
Dang, Tres
Did you have
Flores.
the
The little
peine
palm
right
comb.
here? You can find the barbers.
Yeah.
Like this.
I remember the girls in school would come and like mess with our hair.
Bro, I remember it was a time where everybody was combing their hair back, and my hair doesn't comb back for nothing, bro. So I remember I would force it. I would put like a grip of gel on my hair, and just comb it back, and then I would put like
A
hair
media.
net?
like a media
Yeah.
or like a hairnet,
Yeah.
bro, and then I leave it on for hours, dude, and I take it off, and nope, my hair would go somewhere else. But I wanted to force it to go back because, you know, that was in.
Yeah, but then shortly after that, then like it kind of switched to the bald head.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember
Yeah, I
one
used to shave
time
my head bald.
my brother and I, like we would shave each
Yeah.
other's heads. And then who was it? Somebody said one time, I can't remember who it was, but he's like, "Yeah, you Mexicans shave your head bald because you can't afford a barber."
True story. I think that all stems from what you were talking about, Phil, is the music that you started
Yeah.
listening to.
But yeah.
Because, right? Because
Well, think about it. 90s is the golden age of the
Golden era of hip hop.
golden era of hip hop.
Yeah, and what I was
Mm.
listening to during that time was like Brother Lynch, X-Rated, Mr. Doc, Black Market Records, which is very dark, gangster rap.
I remember looking at, like, I wasn't too immersed in hip hop or rap or anything like that. I liked Tupac, right? I listened to a lot of Tupac because my older cousin introduced me to that. But looking at Tupac, his videos, and then Too Short, right?
Yep,
I was
Too
listening
Short.
to Too Short, right? Which
Easy-E.
which, if I'm not mistaken, was before Tupac,
Mhm.
right? So these guys weren't into the whole, you know, at least in their songs or their
Commercial rap.
the music videos that you see, they weren't too much into the jewelry, right? They weren't too much into the high life in the sense of
They were about.
it was
Too
more
Short
like-
was about women.
yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, he was a
Listen to
Mac.
his lyrics, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying
It's
is,
like
like you had
listening to
Biggie,
porn.
right? Exactly. You had Biggie, and you see his style and his videos. It's about the luxury, right? It's all about the, you know,
Well,
women and stuff like that. Compared to Tupac, right? That it wasn't really
Well,
about that.
And here's the thing with Biggie. Biggie talked about drug dealing and making that happen.
Biggie Smalls is the illest.
Yeah, Biggie Smalls is ill. You know what I mean? And Tupac was more like, he was very contradictory. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'd be talking about,
Tupac was an interesting character.
He was.
He was a great actor. He was very talented. His music was dope, but on a lyrical MC level, bro, like Biggie. I was gonna say big pun. Biggie was like,
Oh yeah.
I think Biggie lyrically
Mhm.
was like, yeah, I agree
Well, that's what I'm
with that.
saying.
Like,
He's
you know,
more lyrically
multi-syllables and all that
inclined.
stuff. Tupac knew how to paint a picture though.
Mhm.
Like, you walk into
No,
a
I'm not
room-
discrediting him. He was a great
you know what I
poet.
mean?
Yeah.
And, like both of them, hands down.
But I'm saying lyrically on an MC
Yeah.
level, like
Yeah,
what
Biggie.
original hip hop is,
B.I.G.
Biggie had that, bro.
You started listening to this music, and it started shaping.
It changed my mind, bro.
Changed
So
your
so
mind, right?
how did the music start to change your mind? Like what things were happening that you noticed?
Well, you know, I was always, and here's the thing, right? I was just a happy kid. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, and you know, when you grow up or whatever, you don't really see your struggles like that until
Mhm.
somebody points them out, right? But when I had listened to that album, I remember there's a song on there called Heat, and it starts off with like 50 cents in a car, right? And he says like, hey, you see that brick house right there? That's the crib. We gon' go when he come out, we gonna shoot him. And he's like, all right, cool, I'm gonna get in the other car. And then you hear vroom, vroom, and then you hear and then the music starts and it drops, right? And he's basically talking about how he's down to kill and he's down to like do life. He's like, the DA can play this, I don't care. And that brought to me, like, I was like, this dude is down. You know what I mean? I was like, I gotta be down like that too. You know what I mean? And I just noticed myself. I wasn't more scared of doing things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never got into that type of trouble. You know what I mean? But the first time I got arrested, though, I was in 5th grade. You know what I'm saying? I got paper arrested, but we had broken into like the school, broke the windows, broke the chain off of one of the sheds, and started playing with the bikes, and we would run from cops, like stuff like that. But I would notice that stuff back, like thinking back on it now, I was just so down, you know, just to do stuff when my friends were like, hey, let's go do this. Let's break into this house. Let's go do this. We never got caught for any of those things. But I noticed that album changed a lot of who I was then. You know what I mean? And then I started listening to Tupac and stuff like that. He became like one of my favorite artists. Like, I had gotten a lot of, how do you say, a lot of his albums.
Sure, you want to be a thug?
Me Against the World, strictly for my, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I had noticed that my mindset was just evolving from this type of music that I was listening to.
Yeah,
And,
music has a lot of power, dude. It really does.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, because all the gangster rap that I would listen to, they were talking about how bad they were and how they would shoot somebody.
And how they were down.
And so how they talked of like shooting, killing somebody, dude. I'm so glad that at that time I didn't have a gun. Because I wouldn't have hesitated to pull out a gun and shoot somebody. But it was just because it was so ingrained into my head because of the stuff that I would listen to and everyone around me listened to.
You know, I think on the flip, not on the flip side, but I'm gonna take it to like another genre. So there was a time where I would listen to corridos, narco corridos and corridos. Back when Valentin Elizalde, you know, was beginning to
Vete
blow
ya,
up.
si no
You know what I'm
encuentras motivo.
There you go. See, so, but right, I think I don't know how old I was. I was probably like 18, 19 years old. When that was something big, at least in Nogales, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything was up and coming. You had Los Tucanes de Tijuana, which you still have them, right? You had Sergio Vega before he got, you know, brutally murdered.
Mil
and,
veces
you know what I'm saying?
muere el cobarde.
You had all these artists, right? And all he talked about was, you know, well, depending on who you talk to, narco corridos, right?
Yeah.
About, llevé 100 kilos de polvo and 1,000 libras de mota and whatever the case
And
may
then
be.
guns.
And yeah, and about guns,
balazos,
right? And then also you talk,
armas automáticas.
I just heard that. I just heard that actually the other day. That's funny that you mentioned that. I heard it on the radio. But that for a while I would wear ostrich boots, bro. I'd go
so did I.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd go
Trip
to
out.
Gitanos, you know, across the line, and Banda del Sol and El Gallo Elizalde. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know about Nogi, but here in Tucson, like when you're you're Chicano, but your parents are from Mexico. You have like your identity crisis,
Yeah.
where you're a gangster with your homies, but then like when you go to a quince or a wedding, like
Or
you're all
botas.
cowboyed out, bro.
Yeah. Right? So I used to wear my ostrich boots, my hat, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Custom made in Mexico.
Decked
and
out.
Yeah, right. Decked out
Word.
with the Versace little matching belt, right? Stuff like that. But listening to that
Stinking
music,
WB.
I was like, oh, man.
Well, it made
heck
you
yeah.
dress that way.
Well, it made you dress that way, but it also made you think like
You were one of
there's,
them.
There was
Yeah.
there's this song by Valentina Elizalde called Soy Así. Así
Soy
nací.
así.
Y así nací, y así me moriré. You know what I'm saying? So when I used to listen to that song, I'm just like, you know what? This is me. You know what I'm saying? This is me,
Yeah.
and this is who I am, and this is the way I'm gonna die, and screw everybody else. And,
You know,
you know what
narco
I'm saying?
corridos are very much like hip hop is, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
see?
they're
Yeah.
very macho. It's
Yeah.
very, it's about killing too.
there it
they
is, yeah.
It's
glorify.
about being a man.
They
I feel.
Well, in
being
their
a man,
eyes,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
They glorify the whole like being a drug dealer and drugs
Killing,
and
right?
money,
Doing what you gotta
money,
do.
yeah. But yeah, so that was dope too because I remember listening to Chalino, bro.
Oh yeah.
Chalino, listening to
Ramon Ayala.
Ramón Ayala,
Chalino
el
Sánchez.
Puma de Sinaloa, who
Daddy
else?
Yankee.
No.
Los Tigres del Norte.
Los Tigres del Norte. Yeah, dude, like that, and I that made me proud to be
Yeah,
Mexican.
absolutely.
You know, like I was like, yeah, this is dope. Like this is where I come from. You know, and it's like that. Like it made me feel like I was a man, and that's who I was. That's what I was.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, music does have such a strong influence, mainly on the youth. But remember this: who was the music angel in heaven?
Songster's leader.
Lucifer.
El Diablo.
And God created all the instruments and everything
Yeah.
for Lucifer before he even created him. So that was Lucifer's what do you say it, like his expertise.
His expertise,
like
absolutely.
That was like his main
That's what he was
talent.
created for.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was music.
He led worship
and
in
he wanted to be worshipped, right? He craves worship. And what does he do? He basically uses music
Yep.
so that people can worship him. You ever heard of the band 9 Inch Nails?
Yes, I have.
Yep.
And then Black Sabbath?
Mm-hmm.
Think about that, bro. The nails that Jesus was crucified with were 9 Inch nails. Okay?
Oh, trip out. I didn't know that.
Black Sabbath. So
I
it's
didn't
like
know that either.
Lucifer, bro. If you listen to like old classic rock bands, the names, the stuff, even the stuff
yeah,
that would be said in the
The
music.
Beatles.
The
Yeah.
Beatles, yeah.
Beatles,
Yeah.
same thing.
It's like
yeah.
all
I mean, they
mocking,
claim they were bigger than Jesus.
Yeah.
Ozzy Smith.
But it's
Yeah.
all mocking God, bro.
Yeah.
It's all mocking God, and it's Lucifer. Why? Because there's a spirit
And you know
behind
what's-
music.
Yeah, it's all Antichrist.
You know,
That's
back
what
in
it
the
is.
early like 80 or late 80s, like what you're talking about, those rock days, rock years, Beatles and all them.
Yeah.
It was very subliminal. It was very like you play the album backwards. You hear they say,
Yeah.
"I worship you."
Unless
say,
you knew what you were listening to, it was subliminal. Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't like the average Joe could put that record on and be like, "Oh, this is worshiping the devil." You know, nowadays it's in your face, bro.
Yeah,
it is completely.
It's evolved.
It has, and you know what? They're becoming more desensitized to that
Yeah.
that lifestyle.
And it's the new norm.
You know Billie Eilish. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Billie Eilish.
So I
My
was doing-
daughter is a huge fan of Billie Eilish.
bro, she is demonic, bro. I am
Billy who?
Billie Eilish. She's like
singer.
one of she first
a
recorded
pop
a
singer.
song with her brother and threw it on Spotify, and this song ended up making her extremely famous. It blew up like in I think in one night it had like 1,000 like listens.
Mm-hmm.
For her, in her mind, that was like, you
The
know,
greatest thing.
she just went viral.
Yeah.
And it actually went viral.
Trip out.
And now she's like one of the biggest artists out there right now.
Yeah.
And there's a I don't know the name of the music video. Maybe you do, but it's a video of her being injected in her back with these syringes, and she gets tossed out of heaven.
Whoa.
And she's falling, and as she's falling, these wings are growing out of her back. And I think they grow in out of her back after they stab her, so she has the wings, and they throw her down, and she lands in earth, in like tar and oil, and the whole song is her like crawling out of the oil
From
on Earth
Yeah.
and singing this song,
As if she's Lucifer.
and her wings are opening,
Yeah.
and they finally open all the way, and then the oil catches on fire, and she's like literally like on fire, her wings and all around her.
I haven't seen that.
And then these they almost, I don't know, they're like women, other women come out of the ground and start dancing in the distance, but it's all focused on her. It's filmed in a way of a one take. You know what that means? Where there's no
Yeah,
cuts in the
there's no
camera. It's
cut.
just like a full pan out until you see the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so demonic. Like, you feel what she's representing, and you see it too.
Yeah.
And then she goes, after she reaches a certain point, she turns around and heads back to the fire.
Trip out.
And then I was like, okay, this is one video.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to a next video of hers. Same thing. Possessed, eyes are black, just completely demonic. Every video that I saw of hers, I was actually like, I was watching it in my office by myself. Everyone's asleep, and I was like, I caught myself looking over my shoulder because I could feel that evil
That energy.
You know
on
what?
these videos.
And I think it's more like you said, it used to be that it was subliminal. Not even so subliminal, right? But you had to go into the dark bands of then, right? So death metal.
Or
I-
even play the records backwards.
Yeah.
I
and
used
have
to
subliminal messages.
listen to Sepultura, which was a Brazilian band. I used to listen to Slipknot. I used to listen to Cradle of Filth.
Oh, dang, you were
I used
hardcore.
to, you know what I'm saying? So, and I listened to that during probably the first 2 years of high school, because I started hanging out with that group. You know
Was
what
this
I'm saying?
before or after Beyonce?
This was way before Beyonce.
This was
This
was in
Bro,
Nogi?
she
Nogi
is
High?
demonic too, bro.
Nogales High School, right? So yeah, she
Shit,
is.
wow.
But what I'm saying is, back then, in order for you to see like like Cradle of Filth, that's where you would see. That's, at least to me, that's the first time I ever saw nude women in a music video.
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying? Or they were being crucified upside down, right? Or they were just openly mocking God.
The things
you
of
had,
God.
But you had to go and search for that, right? Like you actually had, you didn't see it on MTV,
Right,
You had
right.
Marilyn Manson, right? That was kind of like, the dude was just nut, crazy as
Yeah,
it is,
yeah,
but
yeah.
not like these dark bands, And
Yeah.
going back to what David said is, you look at God created worship, and the devil, everything the devil does is he takes whatever God creates
And
and
perverts
he twists
it.
it.
Yeah.
Right, and he twists it. So just like music can be used to worship God, to maybe not even spiritual. Let's just talk about positivity, right? Injecting positivity into, the youth or your own life, right? Where you listen to good music, positive music, what I'm saying, that you put on. And I'm not talking about Caleb either. Just good music that, it makes you feel good, right? You're driving to work, you put this song on because it makes you feel good.
Right,
You know what
right,
I'm saying? The devil takes that and he twists it, and that's how you inject Antichrist into. That's how kids grow up with that mentality,
No,
right?
that's
Of
real.
Antichrist, of rebellion, right? Not so much now that I'm going to kill people, because I think at least I want to say that we're past that. Now it's more of the luxury lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And that's how kids grow up in their rebellion.
Yeah, the majority are now looking at prosperity and
The bling bling.
Yep, and
Yeah.
trying to like, stunt on people.
Yeah, and I think that it's all become kind of like an evolution. You know what I'm saying? Because when I was doing some research, I had seen that it because I was like, what's the introduction to where like the devil came into play in so I was doing some research on like where Satan first was like had like touched the music of people, right? And something came back, I guess, from the 1600s. It says that there was a famous player, or not a famous player, but somebody who would, back in those days, nothing was recorded, so they would just travel, right? And it was, I want to say it was a violinist, and he created the sonata in G minor. I guess that's what it was, and it's a very famous tune that I guess the Simpsons use till this day. There are a lot of other type of musicians that use this, right? So the way the story goes is that he just grabbed the violin and he just started playing it, and then all of a sudden he had gotten those powers, right? So
Right.
another one that you know, as far as like selling your soul to the devil, right? Was Robert Johnson. He's one of the first known artists to actually do that.
One of the most popular stories too. They made a movie about that.
To do what?
Called The Crossroads.
To sell your soul.
Oh, okay.
To sell your soul to the devil, in order to gain something.
Fame.
Right?
So Robert Johnson, he's known as one of the best blues
Yeah,
players of
one of the
all
greatest.
time, right? But there's
Is he a black guy?
yeah,
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Back in the I think it was like the 1920s.
yeah, it was a long time ago. But this dude, they said that he would go play and try to perform at places, and he sucked.
Yeah.
He was so bad on the guitar that people would say, you know, people were like they didn't want him to play, and they didn't like him. And then all of a sudden, one day,
Yeah. One day, it was like night to day. They say that he. There's many stories about it, but the most popular one is where he went to a crossroad in what state was it? I think it was like Louisiana or Alabama or
somewhere in the South.
somewhere in the South, where he had at midnight he had gone to like this railroad or this crossroad, and he met a black figure. And what had happened was I forget how the story went, but the whole purpose was that he said that he'd give his life to be the best, not to have the fame.
1930s.
1930s, not to have the fame, not to have any. He just wanted to be the greatest, right? And now you see the evolution. Like when you hear that, you see the evolution. Now it's like, I want the money, I want this, I want that. But yeah, that was the first very known, or the first time you actually hear of somebody selling their soul to the devil so that they could actually gain something in return.
So it was
Wow.
the crossroads at Clarksdale, Mississippi. So it says the crossroads at Clarksdale where Robert Johnson sold his soul. Legend has it that Johnson took his guitar to the crossroads of Highway 49 and 61 in Clarksdale, Mississippi, where the devil returned his instruments in exchange for his soul. So I guess like the devil grabbed the person that he met,
it or something.
tuned the guitar, and after he tuned it, he handed it to him, and right there, and then that's
And
when he
all of a
was able to
sudden,
play
he
the guitar.
became superb
And
at what that was.
And then look at when I Googled him, this is what it says. It says Robert Leroy Johnson was an American blues guitarist, singer, and songwriter. His landmark recordings in 1936 and 1937 display a combination of singing, guitar skills, and songwriting talent that has influenced later generations of musicians.
Yep.
How long did he live for?
27 years. So
Total?
there's 27 years. Not as an artist, just his life ended at
Wow.
27. But you know what's crazy about that is there's this thing called Club 27 where a lot of famous artists
Isn't
die
it
at
Kurt Cobain and
Kurt
stuff
Cobain,
like that. Yeah,
Jim
it's
Morrison,
yeah, it's all conspiracy.
all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And it links back to that, selling your soul.
Wasn't the Joker? What's it? Heath Ledger as well.
Heath Ledger.
27.
If you see the list, if you literally Google Club 27, it'll show like a list of. When I went through the list, it was like 100, at least.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was really crazy. So, and you know, when I was doing this type of research and I was looking this up, I noticed that the greed just became more. You know what I mean? At first, it was I want to be the greatest, right? That's what Robertson wanted. And then you start looking into, and what's crazy is blues, jazz. They called jazz like the devil's music back in the day. And the reason for that is because it made you want to dance. It made you want to do these like lewd dancing. It was very alarming. So a lot of people would say that's the devil's music. And what's crazy is rock actually incepted from jazz, and a lot of big artists, right, they say that rock and roll is the devil's music. You know what I mean? There's one of the biggest songs that actually kind of, I would say, is like a pinnacle of like it kind of catapulted everything was Mick Jagger. What band was Mick Jagger in? It was Rolling Stones. It was called Sympathy for the Devil. That was one of their songs. It was one of the biggest songs. It was the biggest song that year, I believe. I forget. I think it was in like the 70s or something like that. And it's basically talking, if you listen to the lyrics, it says, I'm just a man. I've been here for a long, long time. I was around when Jesus was in doubt, and I made sure that Pilate washed his hands. So he was basically talking about that. He's like, you know my name. I hope you guessed my name. And that was one of the biggest songs. If you see, like...
Wait, what's this song called?
It's called
Doesn't he go like,
Sympathy
you
for the Devil.
know my name? Doesn't he say that? Scream that?
Something like that.
Yeah,
And
I think it rings a bell.
yeah, and if you see it, like, and even then, that was the first rock album. The rock album was, I think it was called Sympathy. It was the Satanic... Here, I got it right here. It's called, like, the Satanic, like... basically doing stuff for the devil. That was the first album that actually had something about Satan. You know what I'm saying? And from there, you know, you just start seeing a lot of other rock bands. You know, heavy metal incepted from that. Then you got black heavy metal that incepted from that as well. But even if you take it back to rock, like back in the 90s, Red Hot Chili Peppers actually received an award in 1992 for that, what is it, Under the Bridge, I don't really want to know, that song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And during when they received that award, right, one of the members comes up, and they say it real subtle and real quick. They're like, all right, yeah, you know, I just want to thank Satan, and then I want to thank...
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you start seeing these little type of things where it was extremely subtle. Like it's
supposed to be sarcastic.
Yeah,
like
it's
like
supposed
he's
to be.
yeah. So it's like he's just being stupid because all the rappers and our song artists always go, I just want to thank God for this, and he
Yeah.
goes up there, I just want to thank Satan for this, like,
Yeah.
and everybody laughed.
Yeah, but in reality, that's what they're doing. But a lot of symbolism actually came from the 70s and all these rock bands and stuff like that, where you started seeing a lot of symbolism in the horns and, you know, the eyes. Like, I think rappers use more of the symbolism, but rock and roll use it more within their... Well, nowadays, now 2020, everybody uses the symbolism like they're throwing it in your face like crazy. But back in the day, it was extremely subtle.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to somebody about this, and they say that basically concerts, right? Basically concerts are like, are basically like a worship time for these like demonic creatures or whatever. You know what I mean? Because if you notice, the way to praise is you put your hands up, and what does everybody do at a concert? They put their hands up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they're basically praising, and that's what they love, and that's what they feed off of. You know
Well,
what
it
I
all
mean?
goes back to you know what we said earlier, right? Is the devil takes what God created
Yeah.
and twists it, right? So if you look at the devil being, we could just call him the song service leader, right? The Bible says that he took a third of the angels with him, right? And when you look at how do you convince a third of the angels in heaven
Yeah,
to
that's a trip.
rebel against God and follow you? Through music,
Yeah.
right? Through music. So there's a scripture in the Bible in 2 Timothy 3:13, if I'm not mistaken, and it says in the last days, seducers and evil men. So it's not seducers. You'd figure that evil men and seducers are the same thing, right? But it says evil man and seducers. So seducers actually means, if I'm not mistaken, it says whispering wizards.
Whoa.
That's what it means, right? So in the last days, evil men and whispering wizards, right? So that's what, when you put headphones on, I'm not saying that it's an actual whisper, but those words that you're listening to are actually shaping and molding not only the way you think, right? But the Bible talks about the eyes of your understanding,
Yeah.
right?
It's all about the mind.
They're shaping the eyes of what your eyes see is, you know, kind of subliminally talking or spiritually talking, however you want to say it, is that's what's shaping. That's how you react. That's why you react to things a certain way, right? That's why your outview on life is a certain way, especially with people that are very into music. Because you have people, you know, like you guys are very well versed in what you guys are saying because you guys were very heavily into music, into hip hop, and you know you're spitting out dates, right? So it means that you're educated on this. So people that are, you know, there's the devil's going to try to get into everything, right? Whatever sphere of influence he can get his hands on, he will, right? And I think right now more than ever is in music. Now, whether or not these artists actually made a deal with the devil, I don't know, right? I can't say, oh, well, they did or they didn't or whatnot. It could be a metaphor. It could actually be, right, something you know, like a pact in blood or whatever.
It could also be, before you finish, it could also be just for the publicity. Because a lot of, there's also artists out there that are just doing it. They
like
don't really,
Rick Ross.
They don't really care.
He made that Freemason song and he wanted Jay-Z on it. And he wasn't even a Freemason, and the Freemasons, did you watch that video?
No, I didn't.
They were mad, bro. The black Freemasons were mad. And one of them, he didn't even tell him he was a Freemason. He went and he interviewed him, and he's like, hey, so I hear you talking about you're a Freemason and stuff. He's like, and I'm just curious, are you a Freemason? And Rick Ross kind of paused and he goes, no, I'm not. And then after like Rick Ross walks away, the dude's like, he puts on a Freemason hat, and he's like, there you go. You heard it from his mouth. He is not a Freemason. And they were mad because he was talking about he was a Freemason and stuff. But Rick Ross was doing it more for the fame. And he's talking about how the Freemasonry is more like satanic and the Freemasons were offended. We're like, that's not what we're about. You know?
I think that, you know, there's a scripture real quick. It says, but each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully grown, gives birth to death. Right? So I think the key word here is they're tempted when they are dragged away by their own desires. Right? It's, I'm just going to be, so in other words, the guy that you were talking about back in the 30s, his
Robert
desire
Johnson.
was just to be the greatest. That was his lust. That was his sin. I want to be the greatest, right? And if you talk about the 27 Club, again, I know it's a conspiracy, but what killed these guys was their desire.
Absolutely.
Right? I want to be the greatest. I want to be the richest. I want to be the prettiest. I want to be the most powerful. And once they get that power, then what happens?
Because if you notice, a lot of those are suicides. You know what I'm saying? Like, they overdosed or they killed Kurt Cobain. Like, everyone's like, where did Kurt Cobain go? Like, who killed him? Who murdered him? But in reality, he committed his suicide. You know what I'm saying? So, like, and what's crazy is what you were saying, like, about the greed and stuff. I was also reading that Snoop Dogg Murder Was the Case. That song is basically about him selling his soul. That in the song, it shows that somebody's like, yo, is that Snoop Dogg? Is that Snoop Dogg? And then they kill him. And he goes into a coma. And he's praying to God. And he's like, God, like, you know,
dear God, I wonder, can you save me? My boo-boo's about to have my baby.
Yeah. And then afterwards, what happens? Another.
Oh, he's like, I can't die. My boo-boo about to have my baby.
Yeah. And then afterwards, somebody else appears, and they say, I'll give you this. I'll make sure that you're good, son. And then Snoop Dogg is like, all right, cool. And then he's like, I bought my mom a Benz. I bought my baby boo a Jag. Like, I'm good. And then a part of the bridge was like, it was that saying, if I go to sleep, I pray the Lord my soul to keep. But then the devil comes back. So he's basically saying that.
And then it's like the devil repeating it, if I should die before I wake.
Yeah.
Like in the background.
And that
I
song.
pray the Lord, my soul you'll take.
Yeah. And
There's a lot of blasphemy in music like that, bro.
It is, bro. And that's why I'm saying, like, you know, us listening to hip hop growing up, and, you know, I even, Big L had that, you know, Devil's Son. He was the Devil's son.
Because 139 Atlantic is the danger zone when no man could withstand or hold his own.
And he said he snuffed Jesus.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. At the age of 12, well, how does it go?
I went to hell
at the age
of 12.
for snuffing Jesus or something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
And but the devil's son, that album, bro, or that song, it's crazy. I remember listening to it over and over again.
Yeah.
But because Big Al was dope,
Yeah,
like
he
lyrically,
was.
bro, like I had to like listen to his stuff like 3 or 4 times
Yeah.
to make sure I caught everything. But what I wanted to throw in there though is that there's always a spirit behind music, because even the rappers and like the indie artists that don't want to do
Signed
it
to those major
independently,
labels,
yeah,
yeah.
because they don't want to sell their soul, and they don't want to be controlled or have someone telling them what they can say and what they can't say.
They always talking about not wanting to go into a record label.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but even then, bro, like I believe that almost everything is spiritually influenced.
Absolutely.
And if it's not of God, then it's against God. And so my perception of what God was not what the Bible taught.
Yeah.
And what I was taught when I was younger, but it all came from music.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't listening to commercial music or
It
these
was all
artists who sold their soul. No, these were guys who were against being part of the industry and
But
who
they were
also
deeper,
but
right?
they talked about how they didn't want to sell their souls to the industry, to the devil, and they also talked about the Illuminati, like another rapper, Hobson. You ever heard
They
of
were
Hobson?
against
Heard of
all this,
Hobson.
but
Hobson's
yet
sick.
they bowed down to it.
Well, they were talking about it more in a sense where they're exposing it, but they weren't Christian.
They're like red pill.
Yeah, so they're exposing it and more like on a revolutionary level, but even then it's very anti-Christ because it still goes against Christianity. So I remember like a lot of people who listen to this type of music, they talked about, well, Christianity, it has been a weapon that the government has used.
So would you say that this type of music was listened to years ago in the 90s, whereas right now this generation is more into the mainstream, right?
This is still out there.
This is still out
Yeah,
there. Okay.
this is
Okay.
underground hip hop.
But what
Indie's actually blowing up more now.
Is that
than ever.
underground?
Yeah, indie
Okay.
is independent.
Yeah, that's what that is,
Okay,
yeah.
so because and to question on this question for you guys is, do you guys see that as prevalent right now? Like, is indie shaping this generation's mindset? Is it shaping this generation's outlook on life, or is this generation still caught up by more mainstream rappers?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I would say
Mainstream.
mainstream, for
sure. Okay, so-
because it's whatever, and this is another thing that underground rappers would say. Underground rap is like dying out, bro. Like it's already dead.
Yeah, that's why I was
Yeah.
kind of asking. Like
That already
was
died
more
out.
prevalent.
Yeah, that
back
was more
then.
like early 2000s.
Yeah.
I want to say. So when I was listening to this stuff, it was like early 2000. It was already past the 90s.
So right now, though, in this generation, right, we're talking about mid 2000, right? Mid 2000. Well, not mid 2000s, but 2007, 2010 and
2010
on,
and
right?
on,
So
yeah.
10 years, right? The music that's shaping this generation's outlook on life is very different.
And it's also very
absolutely.
watered down. It's very dumbed down.
Yeah.
Like mumble rap.
It's
But
more to
now
catch
it's
a
all
vibe
about
these days.
because they see it, and now it's not so much about the lyrics because I
It's
think
not.
because
It's not about the
they
wordplay.
just wanna
It's
get
not about
turned.
anything like that.
well, not
but-
yeah, they want to get rich, right? It's
No,
about,
but they want to make music that's gonna get people turned.
yeah, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying is when, like, for example, right?
That's
we
what
have,
Lil Yachty said.
We have kids in school, right, or in church, right,
Uh-huh.
that look
That
at
listen
these
to this
rappers, and they're not gonna. They
Right,
don't want
it's
to
what's
rap
cool,
those
it's
lyrics.
what's in.
They don't want to
Uh-huh.
rap those lyrics, but they want to reap the benefits that those lyrics are bringing. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I want that lifestyle, right? I want to be cool,
Yeah.
right?
But it's
So-
definitely a lot more dumbed down.
Oh, of
Yeah,
course,
it
Yeah.
is.
of course.
It is definitely a lot more
course.
dumbed down. One thing, just to kind of take a minor left turn, in a spiritual sense, it is. Now, if for people that want to, there's people that are like, I need science to back this up, right? Well, there's studies that show that there is music therapy.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
music therapy for like people who have strokes.
Yep.
That music will actually help them more. There's more signals when you're listening to a song. There's more signals, or there's like your brain is more active.
In
You
the
know what I
Bible,
mean?
music was used by kings and leaders and everything like that, to where they were going through stressful time or whatnot,
and it always
or
sets the
even in
mood,
war,
bro.
or even in war,
Yeah.
they would somebody come play the harp,
Exactly.
some come play this, so calm me down, or music of war or whatnot.
It sets the
So,
mood.
Exactly.
It does. It really does. Like if you listen to a sad song, bro, it's gonna get you sad.
It's gonna, yeah, when I was reading that, it was like it takes over your whole body though, without you even knowing. And in some cases, it affects the soul itself.
Well, they've even
You
done
know what
some
I'm saying?
studies on when they're growing a plant, and they used the comparison with one plant. They played it nothing but classical music, and it grew very like beautiful and it bloomed. And then they did another one where they played nothing but rock music, and it just grew like really ugly, and it died. It didn't last long.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, so musical. I think, Satan, Lucifer, he knows this, and he uses it to the best of his ability.
One thing that just came to mind is, music is used by Satan, obviously, but it also, the intention was Christ and God. The intention with music was to connect us to Christ, to give us, to give Him worship, to give Him glory, right?
Yeah.
I think it's almost like when you're in a place of worship and you're singing and you're just the music's going and you're just in that zone of the presence of God.
Yeah.
You feel connected on another level with God. You bring Him, His presence falls down. You bring Him down to almost your level. You feel like He's in the room with you.
Yeah.
And that's because of the music and because of the words you're speaking, right?
Absolutely.
And what you're hearing. And so how much more if you're listening to something that's demonic,
Absolutely.
and the words are glorifying evil, what's going to come down?
Yeah.
What's going
what's
to
gonna inhabit you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What presence are you inviting,
No, and
I think
that's real.
That's like a golden calf to a lot of people. Is, hey, you can mess with everything in my life, but don't touch my music.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Don't touch my music.
And I know that you said this earlier, but that what is it, the Christian channel 88.1?
K-Love.
K-Love, yeah, there we go.
Positive and encouraging.
Yeah.
K-Love.
Yeah, so they have that 30-day challenge that they have every now and then.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
every now and again, right?
Yep.
And it's so crazy how you hear people's basically their testimonies on
Their
I
lives.
played it for 30 days and my life changed. Basically my life changed within those 30 days. I've become more positive.
Yeah.
I've seen a different outlook, and it just literally takes that much time.
Yeah.
Just real quick. So when it comes to music, there's certain songs that you're going to hear, David, Miguel, and Phil, that as soon as you hear that song, it puts you back into a scenario.
Yeah.
Right?
Nostalgia.
I was at
Nostalgia.
this,
Yeah,
I was put
nostalgia.
into, I was at this house with this girl. I
Yeah.
was at this party. I was chilling with my homie in this car, and it's like it takes you back
Yeah.
to that
Time.
spot. And when you listen to these songs, it taking you back to that spot is not going to do good for you because you're either going to, it was a bad time in life, or it was a time when you were involved in sexual immorality, or
Yeah.
when you were involved in drugs, or when you were depressed.
Yeah.
Right? But you listen to that song because your carnal nature wants to feel like that. In every genre, reggaeton, hip hop, corridos, whatever it is, you listen to a lot of these modern or the last 10 years, and you can make that song, on your iPhone, and
No, yeah, that's true.
these
A lot of
you know
this
what I'm
new
saying?
music is garbage,
Yeah,
bro. It's
and,
all
but people gulp it up. They're
and
eating
not
it.
only talking about how bad the music is, literally no talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this something that you want to be feeding it, And if there's Christians out there that are watching this podcast, and maybe you have kids, is that something you want to allow your kids to listen to? Is that something that you want to play in the house when you're cleaning, or when you're trying to zone out and get in the is that worth it? Because I can say for myself, I stopped listening to worldly music. I hardly listen to music in general. The only time I looked at my my Google Play. I have 3 albums that I just rotate every time, and it's Kanye's new worship album.
Oh yeah, it's actually pretty good.
And then Let the Trap Say Amen by Lecrae.
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes pretty hard in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I like Church Clothes by Lecrae.
Oh yeah,
that one is dope.
So and then there's
I like more the original Lecrae.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
those are the only like couple albums that I listen to on repeat. And then a song here and there, you know, a John Mayer song that I like the guitar in. You know, so yeah, I mean, I'm definitely guilty of listening to stuff that's not just Christian.
We all are.
But there is certain music that are a blatant worship to Satan and blatant disrespect towards God.
Mm-hmm.
And is it worth listening to that?
Well, you have a conscience, right? And you know, you're young, you're watching this podcast. Is your music glorifying God, or is it glorifying self? Is it glorifying riches? Is it glorifying the devil? You know what I'm saying? And again, it's not that, oh, I'm here and I'm talking to you and I don't listen to worldly music. I listen to some country, you know, every now and then, some George Strait, some Alan Jackson.
But how is it affecting you too?
Right.
Exactly.
Because I'm a huge fan of like Frank Sinatra and Michael Bublé, and I can listen to that stuff, but there's been a few times where I'm listening to it and I'm craving to be in like a classy
intimate
atmosphere, sipping on some like champagne or you know what I mean, like and
sipping on a Red Bull or something,
hanging out with a girl or something.
See, the Bible calls us to be good stewards.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're not being a good steward with what God has given you, right, whether if it's the ability to, you know, dissect music, right, and to really dive into music like you guys have right now, if you're not being a good steward with that ability that God has given you, right, then that's something that you're going to be accountable for.
And another thing I wanted to throw in really quick is I know that there's a lot of people in the world, like when I wasn't saved, when I wasn't a Christian, I wasn't walking with Jesus, and I would listen to certain Christians say, well, you shouldn't listen to that. And then so that would put question marks on people's heads that didn't really know God. Well, when you're a Christian, that means that you have to stop doing this and you have to stop doing that. You can't listen to this and you can't listen to that. And what I would say is, because I don't want to confuse people and I don't want people to be like, well, what can we listen to? I'm not the one that you should be asking that. You know what I mean? It's God. It's your personal, intimate relationship with God, where after a while, God will begin to convict you. If you're truly diligently seeking God with all your heart and you really want to know God and you're doing it for real, then God's going to reveal those things to you.
And that's separate from your convictions. So don't get that mixed up. Like a lot of people is like, oh, well, you know, it's between.
I have my own convictions.
I have my convictions. We're not talking about your convictions. We're talking about what David said is what is God telling you in your relationship with Him, not in what you think, right? It's in your relationship with Him, you know, which is intimate, it's personal. And some people can, you know, I think it applies for everything, but some people can listen to Frank Sinatra, Michael Bublé without going to that place of wanting to be in a classy setting, sipping on champagne. It's just like, hey, I did it my way. That's a cool song. It's awesome. You know, I like the way he dresses, and that's it. Move on. Right. But some people can't. Same thing with country, same thing with reggaeton, same thing with hip hop, same thing with narcos.
Same thing with Wu-Tang Clan.
Or just, you know, with everything. You know what I'm saying?
So, you know, there's good and bad in everything, you know. You just got to make the right decision. What do you want in your life? Do you want the bad? Or do you want the good? You know, and so I think next time you know, throw a song on, think about it. Is this something that I want in my home, in my life, in my family's life? Because music is powerful, and that's why the devil uses it, because he knows. And that's why we got to be cautious and
we're
really
battling flesh at the end of the day.
Yep. So real quick, I want to say thank you, Phil, for joining us on this podcast, on this episode. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Bye, Mom.
Peace.